Aloha mai kākou, Kaniloa Kamaunu koinoa, mokopuni o Maui, ahapua'a, Waihe'e, here in the Wailuku, actually Ahapua, which is also what we call our district. But here we are in the parking lot of the Maui Lani Safeway here in Wailuku. And what you see here is a creation of a burial site, a dedicated burial site, because in this area at one time, as you can see, the wall that runs behind me is partial of the height of this actual, what we call mauna, or mountain. It was a mountain made of pu'one, or I should say of one, which is sand. And what is significant about the sand to our culture here in Hawaii is that many of our kupuna, or our elders, lay within this area. A lot of them were buried here by family members due to everyday life, such as battles, especially in this area known for the Battle of Kaniloa, the feathered capes between Kalani Pu'u of island of Hawaii, Moko Ke'awe, and Kahikili, who was the ali'i, or the chief of here on Maui. And they at one time waged war in 1776 between each other, and the losses were great, were very surmountable on both sides, according to the story that is told by Samuel Kamakau, one of Hawaii's great historians. And so in a lot of these areas, there were iwi, or bones, that were found that weren't buried. And that came from that battle, because Kaikili, after the battle is done and he wins, he actually leaves the nakoa, or the soldiers of Kalaniʻopuʻu from Hawaii, and he leaves them without being buried. He removes all his warriors, his nakoa, off of the field, and he leaves them there to basically to rot. And it was a forewarning for anyone who wanted to come and do battle with him. It showed his mana, it showed his power, and how devastating it could be to come in war with him. So a lot of the Iwi Kupuna, or the bones of our ancestors, laid within this sand dune, or one. And as years have passed by, many of them have been disturbed due to developments such as this, and many others throughout this area, which extends from Waihe'e, which is towards the northwest, to Ma'alai, which is the south part of our island, going to the south side. So it's about 12 miles long and about just as wide, about 12 miles wide. And some of these pu'u, or the maunas, were anywhere from 100 to 300 feet. And in about the early 2000s, about 2009, I became an advocate for the burials over here. I found my attachment through my genealogy, through Kekahuna, who in this area that they call Owa, they recorded that there were 8 lo'ikalu. I mean, there were 8 patches of taro that he grew. And so I basically connect my lineal connection to this area. And with that being said, it gave me the kuleana, or the responsibility to, as I promised to the kupuna here, that they would never be forgotten. And the reason for that is so that more disturbances wouldn't happen. While that hasn't occurred, we've been advocating for the last almost 13 years advocating for the protection of our bones. And it's been a hard road. We've done a lot, we've engaged a lot, but it doesn't stop the desecration. And it's hard for us because it's not just the developers, which aren't the worst part. It's really the governmental entities that are in charge that have an obligation to protect our culture, our history, and our people, which they have failed and very derelict in their duties, as we can see, because a lot of these barrels that you go throughout here, that are in here, is about 26 of them. They actually, this wasn't their final place of rest. They were removed so that they could build the residence, that they could build the stores and the mall, and they displaced. And what was also concerning was some of them actually don't belong here. They came from other places, but since it was convenient for the State Historic Preservation Department to basically get rid of them out of their offices, they used places like this where they could reinter them. So we're not sure if all the bones that we have reinterred are actually from here. But whether that be or not, I've become an advocate for not only this area, but we also have things such down at the south side of the island in a place called Wailea that we've been advocating for as of late. One of our people who's been advocating for the area for a long time, Clare Apana, is also there. So we're pretty much spread out. But this is kind of where I started my advocacy for Iwi Kupuna. I come here every year. We honor them by having a whole laulea, and it's a celebration. People say, "Why are you celebrating?" We're celebrating because we had the opportunity, or I had the opportunity, to reconnect to my past, and that I can ground myself, knowing that I'm trying my best, and I talk to my kupuna because I still believe they can hear me and they can hear us as part of our culture. And so I promised them when we first came here that I'll never let them be forgotten. And one little story, really quickly, when we first came here several years ago, I think in 2009 or 2010, they were still building this area. But we came to do a vigil, and that was started by my wife, Johanna Kamaunu. And we actually sat up on the hill out by the street, and we were doing protocols such as pule, and we were having talk stories. And then the person that was actually leading us in the prayers, the pules, said we need to go to an area where they can see us, because when they started building this, of course, they have the dust clouds. So there was only one area that we could go, and that was the very front of the entrance, which was wide open. And when we went there, it was a beautiful night. Stars were out, no clouds in the sky. And then as we went down there, I believe it was probably about the middle of the night, and we stood in front of there. All of a sudden, I felt this, I had this picture in my head, or vision, basically talking about, I have a picture of this one person coming forward, and behind them is like a pyramid of people. It goes from him and just spreads out, and you can't see the back of it. And his question to me is, who are you, or who are you people, and why are you here? Of course, I'm hearing this in English. And so I turned to the rest of our people and I said, they want to know who we are and why we're here. And that hit me, because I guess I was arrogant, thinking that they understood who I was and that why I was here, but they really didn't. And they were confused of why they were here and what was going on with them. And I told them, I told them my name. Everybody in the group said our name. We did our pule, and all of a sudden the clouds came rolling over us. I mean, a thick cloud, and it started to pour. And we just stood there for at least 20 to 30 minutes in the pouring rain. So at least 20 of us. And we all simultaneously raised our heads. And with that being done, there was no word spoken. the clouds cleared, the sky became starlit again. You couldn't tell there was any rain. We didn't feel wet, but we felt so much joy. We felt that we as a people connected with those that were here, and that they understood why, after all these years, that someone would come. And it was good. And so every year we commemorate that event by having a whole laulea. We celebrate that connection. But mahalo, thank you very much. Aloha.
My name is Clare, Apana, and you may have seen me here before. This is the Maui Lani Shopping Center. Today I just wanted to talk about something that we don't usually talk about, and that is our kupuna, our Iwi Kupuna, our ancient burials, our family burials. We are always trying to protect them from harm. But what is the harm that comes to us, the Kanaka Maoli, who are left trying to protect our ancestors, our ancestral bones, our culture? What is the harm to us when the county does this and business says, that's mine, that's not yours? What do we do? So we go to the UN and we get a determination from the Committee on Elimination of Racial Discrimination all the way to the UN, and they say crimes of inhumanity are being performed here in this county. Does that get them to stop? Aole. Aole. Continue with the growing need to have businesses and make money on burial grounds. For me, this is where it all started, in this, what is now the Safeway parking lot. I felt and heard our ancestors calling because nobody was listening. Nobody was listening, and the bulldozers were coming again. You see, this is actually a sand dune. That's the original height of this place, and they've taken it, all of the material, all of the sand, because it's beautiful sand here for sand mining. So in 2012, this Safeway was built. The only thing that I was ever able to get the county, the Planning Commission to do, the SHPD, the State Historic Preservation Department, was to save this pu'u. It started with 12 burials, 16 burials that they found, and then they added more burials to it. Of course, there are many burials that haven't been disturbed yet in here, but this was the only thing. I couldn't stop them from moving 11 burials from underneath the store. I couldn't stop them to move the store just a little bit to avoid the burials. We couldn't stop them from digging this parking lot. So what happens to me? What happens to me? Our kupuna are moved. They're found by bulldozers. They're taken in sand to Oahu for building things like the rail. What happens to us? When this project completed, for 3 years, I couldn't look at another sand dune. The sense of failure is so great that I just couldn't do it. I could not face having to disappoint myself and my kupuna again. Although I was able to stop them from taking all of this sand, taking the burials out, putting them back, and saying, preserved in place according to State Historic Preservation. It was just a haunting feeling that I will always have, that I failed. Like, Could I have done more? Could I have stood in front of that bulldozer? Could I have made a lawsuit early to stop them from illegally taking all the sand where our kupuna lay? Those questions will always be with me, and I will never have the peace of mind that I was entirely successful in doing what is our traditional right, protecting our burials. I'd like to walk you a little bit here to the back side. At the time they started this store, that was how high the land was. With the top of the building there, that was how high it was. They decided that they could sink the store for the neighborhood. So there's nobody in the loading dock right now. It's pretty noisy still. I don't know that they protected the neighborhood, but they sure took out the sand. They made $16 million selling sand to Oahu in the year 2016. Do you think it was about protecting the neighborhood, or was it about taking the sand to sell it? In any case, this entire place was taken down, all of it, despite our objections, despite families who came to say, do not move these burials. It was taken down, and now we live with the consequences of knowing that we stood up and they didn't listen. A'ole pono. Mahalo for listening.
Standing here with my head in my hands, these foreigners destroying our sacred lands, feeling the pain with every grain of sand, desecration of where our kupuna lay. Where's the humanity can't go on this way? It's killing me each and every day. I close my eyes, trying not to cry, but the pain's so great the tears run down my face. Oh, Akua, help them, I pray. Oh, Kupuna, help me find the way. They've been told the Mo'olelo of this place, but yet the powers that be, let them continue on their way. Pleading everywhere, you'll find a listening ear, but it's sad to say, don't give us a time of day. Is it no humanity can't go on this way? It's killing me each and every day. I close my eyes, try not to cry, but the pain's so great the tears roll down my face. Oh, Akua, help me save them, I pray. Oh, Kupuna, help me find the way. Oh, Kupuna, help me find the way.